Hola. I'm going low light tonight. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. I woke up with a cold this morning on my birthday. What fun. But what can you do? It could be worse. So, the last couple colds, I've taken Coricidin. I can't remember who recommended it to me. Coricidin. Maybe my mom, because maybe her older sister, who's in her 80s, was taking it and found that it really helped her recover from a cold fast. And the last time I had a cold, it only lasted a little more than 2 days because I was taking this stuff and sleeping a lot, as I am today. So a lot of sleep, and not going not going out for my birthday, obviously, and I won't see my family tomorrow, unfortunately, for lunch. But that's how it goes. It could be a lot worse. I could feel a lot worse too. So, consequently, as a result of sleeping a lot, I had a ton of dreams last night, and more recently too. So I thought I'd pop on and share a few if they're of interest to you, and if they're not, then watch something else. uh, yeah, this is pretty dark. I don't know. I don't have a lot of lamps around me, so I'm sorry, and it's on my phone too. So we're just gonna have to live with it. But it's more comfy for me, so I'm gonna do it that way. Apologies. Let me jump into the dreams. Yeah, I'm gonna go backwards. The one I just had before I woke up and took a shower was was very interesting. I was I was I was driving to a shoot for a TV show. I was going to play a minor character in a television show of some kind, which is funny because I don't really have any acting aspirations as far as I'm aware, but in the dream apparently I did. So I drove kind of to this spot off the highway, and it seemed like we were gonna actually camp, like just off a highway exit or something, because people were talking in the car, I think, about like, oh, we'll park under this underpass near the thruway exit, and we'll leave our cars here, and then we'll, because we're gonna be sleeping here for a few weeks in tents or whatever. So we were roughing it to do this shoot for a TV show, but I don't know why that setting. I don't have an idea. But from there, I had to travel further. I had to go down into like a very wooded valley below the thruway. So the thruway was kind of elevated, and there was a whole green field below it. And to get there, I had to, it seemed like I had to cross this elevated set of train tracks, and then I had to follow this path. And I drew some of this, so because it gets weird as it goes. So I drew the path. Let's see if you can see this in the light. So just concentrate on this part of the picture right now. Right here, right where I just pointed, is where it crossed some train tracks, and there were also wires hanging down, like electrical wires. So that's what those little lines are, and I had to crawl underneath the electrical wires to cross this 6 or 8 feet to get to here. And then that's where the path kind of led out and downward into the valley. And there were a couple of people standing on the other side of the train tracks as I sort of crawled over a ledge and dropped down onto this path. Right here. But here's where it got wacky. It turned out that the path I was on, I would say I was had to be a good 500 feet in the air, at least. And at first it was just a conventional path, like like a walking path anywhere, and then it just kept narrowing and narrowing and narrowing, and then soon it was like a tube, like like a metallic tube that was like wide enough to crawl along, and it was completely suspended in the air. So it narrowed gradually until it went from a path to essentially a tube, and it was kind of like sparkly, and a lot of purples and like silvers were part of the texture, and it looked like metal. Then it looked more like a metal than like a surface, and it looked like sort of like liquid metal. It looked very fluid, very strange. So I kind of drew that too. And what the weird part about that is, as it narrowed, I crawled along it, and I was just sort of like advancing on my, with my hand. I kept putting my hands forward and then like scooching along it. You know what I mean? I was like riding it like a tube. It went like this. It went up in parts. Counterintuitively, it went up, and then it went down, and then it went around, and then it went down a little, and then it went up a little, and then it went down, and it almost resembled the shape of a roller coaster. And I kind of drew that in this picture here. I don't know. Can you see that? So this is the tube part right here. And as it goes into the distance, you can see that it just keeps narrowing and winding in around itself. Can you see that? All right. And so I drew kind of the sparkles on it too. And that's kind of my point of view, this picture, like as I'm surfing along this tube. This is like sort of what it looks like from my POV. And then, but it's still narrowing, and it's still narrowing. And this is like the side view of it. You see? Sorry. This drawing at the bottom is like the side view of this thing. And then there's a little person on there, and you can see that it's me. And so this loopy, metallic, liquidy metal kind of structure, as I continued to, scooch along it, then it got so narrow and thin that really I was like sort of like lying down on it and just like sliding along, and I would notice that I was going upside down, so I could see the ground, like like if you were on a roller coaster, in the way you see the sky and the ground and the sky and the ground. So I kept seeing the sky and the ground repeatedly, but I didn't really know where I was or how close I was to being able to get off this thing, or when it was gonna like fully dip down to the ground. Because from a distance, when I first got on the path, that's what it looked like was gonna happen. Like, oh, I'll just take this path until I get all the way down. Well, so finally I reach a point where I'm still a good several hundred feet in the air, and I can see below me what looks kind of like almost like a little carnival going on, and a couple of swimming pools. And apparently people, when they get to a certain point off this path that narrows to a metallic tube, they just let go and they drop into the swimming pools below. Okay, so I was thinking, I don't want to do that. I'll just keep following it, and hopefully it'll just take me down to the ground. But then it ended. Like, I'm suspended in midair. I'm 200 feet in the air, hanging on to this thing. And when I get to its very end, I can see... How do I explain this? I don't want to say it's alive, but the tube is being created in real time. Like, the tube is extending in real time in front of me, and it has like a lip, and when I grab onto the lip is sort of elastic, and I start to like dip towards the ground, and it's literally stretching itself, and I have to let go. Like, I'm meant to let go. But the tube was actively like advancing in front of me the whole time. I just didn't realize it. So it only existed insofar as it was being created as I was sliding along it the whole time. And that's why it was so liquidy and shiny and, metallic, but kind of alive. And I let go. So I got to this lip, and then I could see that it wasn't going to like extend itself any further, and I had to let go. And I remember thinking, well, if ever all these other people fell into the pools and they're okay, it must be okay. So I decided, instead of closing my eyes in sheer panic, I would just open my eyes and just sort of not really worry or think about it. And that's what I did. And I did. I could see myself falling through the air, like kind of like third person. I could almost like see myself from a distance now falling. Excuse me. And I dropped right into the pool, and I was fine. And that was that. So I guess that was how you get to the film video shoot in in this dream. So what is that about? No idea. Except maybe like the journey, a journey, the unknown journey, and then trusting the journey or something like that. I don't know. That's pretty literal. It was a lot stranger than that. And then a dream I had earlier in the evening that I remembered very well when I woke up was about, well, at first it began with cleaning these rooms of an apartment or a house. And again, it seemed like an older place. And I was with some other people, but I don't think it was my family. And we were wiping down the walls and the floors and whatnot. And it was annoying because there were these little tiny little flies, those little, I don't know what they call them. The kind of flies that hang around garbage, like the tiny little ones, not the full size flies. A kind of a summer fly. And anytime we would like try to like get one and squish one in the air, as soon as you squished it, there would be like four more. It was a weird thing. It was like you couldn't get rid of them by extinguishing them. It was like when you cracked them, they created more of themselves. And I thought later when I woke up that maybe that was some kind of representation of starting to get this cold that I woke up with, like where you've got an invader you're trying to get rid of, and your body probably goes after it, and it's trying to replicate itself, because that's what a virus will do, right? So that could be the reason for that image. But eventually what we decided to do, instead of like continuing to clean the room, which seemed to be like only slowly getting cleaner, we decided to repaint everything. Like, you know what, let's not do a touch up on this room. Let's bust out some brand new paint and paint everything. And we painted the room all these brilliant colors. Like, I remember green specifically, and maybe some red too. These really bright colors that you would probably not paint a room unless like you were really going for a really specific theme, dramatic colors, but vibrant, fun colors. But we didn't stop there. We kept painting. Like, we went. Now it wasn't really like just a house anymore. It was like, I don't even know what it was. It was just room after room after room. Dozens of rooms. And so this became like this whole project. It was like, well, again, it was kind of like a journey from room to room, painting and painting and painting, and then into these corridors. And then as we continued to paint and we just kept playing with the colors and kept kept moving along, then some of the people in the corridors were painted too. They were brightly painted people, and it was all very vibrant and alive. And then as we looked back behind us, we realized that our painting of the initial room and the rooms that we had already completed had somehow inspired other people to paint. And so they painted right on top of our paint. They added it to what was there, and they drew pictures, and someone was like writing script onto the wall, and it was becoming more like a collage. And some of what we had actually painted was completely wiped out by what other people had added. Because I remember thinking, oh, when we started, that whole room was green, but then the room was mostly red with all these other ornate swirlies and writing and designs on. And like that was kind of the whole point, that the painting inspired painting. The art inspired art. And when I texted my mom about the dream, and she said something about it like, oh, what did she say? I can't check my phone because I'm using my phone to record. But like, you know, again, suggesting a journey and suggesting sort of a continuity of life, if you will. Like, when people create art, a lot of times it inspires the creation of more art, so that the art sort of perpetually builds on itself and never ends. And all the art that is new is in some sense a result of everything that came before it that inspired it. And it is unending. And that's what the dream seemed like. Like the painting seemed unending in a happy, joyful way. And I also realized that the rooms we had started and painted, that had in some instances had been almost completely painted over, like that was okay. Like just because the original painting that we didn't exist anymore on the top surface, it was still a part of the whole because of what it in turn inspired in others. And then presumably even those others, if they continued to move along and continued to paint more and more rooms, then new people would come and paint over the early rooms again. And so you would have this unending cycle, perpetual creation, evolution. So that was pretty interesting. And again, when I woke up, even though I had this sore throat, I didn't really feel like, I didn't feel depressed per se, like sometimes you do when you get a cold. It was more just like, well, I got a cold. What can you do? There's nothing to be done about it except go into your cold protocol. Which for me, I've been taking that Coricidin that I mentioned, and even reading my own notes to myself about good things to do when you're sick. A neti flush with filtered water and sea salt is really good because it gets the gunk out of your sinuses, and so is a salt gargle, like really, because you got a lot of junk in your sinuses, and so the more you clean that out, the quicker you recover, I have found. So I did both of those things before I took a shower, and so I feel tired and stuff, but I don't feel terrible. It definitely could be a lot worse. Was there a point to that? Not sure. Oh, other than really like, I mean, I'm disappointed. I was going to go out with some friends to have like a birthday drink, and I was going to see my mom and my brother tomorrow for a birthday lunch, and we won't be able to do that now. But otherwise, it's just like, well, okay, I just have to rest. So there's no choice. And I'm not as bothered by it as I might be. maybe that's also because I've got some birthday energy juju around me. Because somehow, astrologically, these things do play into our lives, like where the planets are at any given point in time, and the interrelations of planets. These huge gravitational and electromagnetic bodies, they do contribute to how we feel. Even though, there are other reasons we might feel a way on a given day, other life circumstances, but somehow the energies of astrology and astronomy are they do definitely affect us. Because I've said in previous videos that the last couple of Easters I have felt like these strongly positive feelings that seem to be beyond my own mood, that seem to be like tied to the period of time stamped on this cycle of time that comes around every year as we're in a certain position. The earth is in a certain position relative to the sun at a given time of year after year. And tangentially related, I remember reading right after that terrible earthquake in Turkey and Syria, the first one, not even the second one, there was I think they call him a seismologist. They study earthquakes and I guess plate tectonics and all that stuff, who had predicted that that a major quake was very possible when it did occur. He predicted it in advance because of where we were in Earth's orbit relative to other planetary bodies. But I don't know what the relationships were. I'm sure someone like like Andre at Astrology Alert on YouTube would have a better sense of that. But since the other planets in the solar system, some of them are so much bigger than Earth, like say Jupiter and Saturn, they clearly, when we are in different places on our orbit, we're clearly affected by their gravity and electromagnetism in the same way that we're always affected by the moon, in the way that the moon actually does tug at the water, at the oceans of Earth, and then lifts that water towards the moon. But of course, the Earth's own gravitational force is stronger, so that we can keep the water. But when they show illustrations of the gravitational effect of the moon on Earth at different times in its cycle, it waxes and wanes, and that's how you get, I guess, tides and things like that too. So I understand these things somewhat, but not really like deeply. But I just know that the effect is real. So I suppose it could be that there's some nice juju attached to one's birthday whenever it comes around the wheel. I mean, hopefully, because it is like your energy coming back around in the cycle again. The planet is in essentially our planet is in essentially the same position relative to the sun as it was in the day you were shot through a cannon into the earth. I mean, not a cannon, you know what I mean. But, you came down the chute of creation out through your mother into the world. And sometimes I imagine the other side being like that, like they're preparing the launch tubes to line up somewhat with the stars so that people are born at the right time for some of the things in life they're meant to experience, or for the influence they're meant to have. And apparently this can work positively and negatively too, because some of the more treacherous leaders that we've had recently were born in ways that optimize their rise, or their rise for a period of time, which is a weird thought too, that someone who evolves to have ill intent can be born at a time that is advantageous to their not altruistic goals. It's weird. It's all weird. We won't know what that's all about from this side, I don't think. Not fully, not ever. Not maybe until we get to the other side and see it from a different perspective. Well, that's enough tangents on top of my dreams, so I'll leave it there. Other than to say, do whatever you got to do to keep your head in the game. Yes, I am continuing to keep my news consumption lower than usual because the far right loonies are making all their noise, and I don't really need to be exposed to that other than a headline here and there, and taking a quick peek to know that they don't mean any good for the country. But they're gonna be in a tough spot of having to appear to lead now that they have some power in one chamber of Congress, because it's very easy to throw daggers of discontent and ill will at the majority when you're in the minority. You know, when the Democrats had the House, it was easier for the Republicans to attack them because they didn't have to worry about legislating on anything, like, because they didn't have enough power to do so. But now that they have that majority, if they're seen as completely not cooperative, or their only purpose is to obfuscate and prevent things from getting done, even though they have the power, then they're going to prove that they don't really deserve to have that power. So, which is actually my hope, so that next fall, then maybe we can have a return to all Democrat control, and we can get through certain bits of legislation that I think would be really helpful for the country on the whole, including codifying abortion and, maybe doing away with the Electoral College. Certainly anything environmental that can help slow down global warming would be welcome too. But, you know, it all has to play out, and it doesn't play out on my timetable or yours, so we just have to ride it out. Okay, that's all for now. Hope you're doing well. Take care. See you around. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, take care. Bye.